Let's get this link shared.
I'm gonna go ahead and share it.
I was doing it too. I'm gonna let you do it. All right.
You just wanna do what you feel because you're living in the flesh. You got comfort in captivity, but this is not your race. Micah 2 and 10. We ain't adopt European culture, it was pushed on us. This nation ain't under God, they enemies of us. Everything he told us don't do, they making it legal. Killing babies before birth, man, abortion is evil. A child is a child, even if it's a fetus. I'm tired of the lies, all they do is mislead us. On my knees I'm pleading, and the lies don't believe them. They deceitful creatures, sucked us dry like leeches. On our ancestor back, they built this wicked nation. Ain't no way to make it right, it ain't no justification. Here counsels on our behalf to set up indoctrination. LGBTQ, I don't care, it's abomination. You can't counsel me, cause I don't want the fame. I just wanna wake up my people and break the chain. You just wanna do what you feel, yeah, yeah. Cause you're living in the lust of your flesh. You're living in the lust of your flesh. So you just wanna do what you feel, yeah, yeah. Cause you're living in the lust of your flesh. You're living in the lust of your flesh. So how you gonna say you got faith when you ain't got no works? Gotta afflict your flesh and put the Most High first. But you just wanna get drunk and you just wanna pop perk. But you just wanna get high until you ride the earth. He don't want lip service, it's the heart he serves. If we keep the commandments, we could break these curses. Listen close to these verses. The scripture immersed in them to repent from sin. You gotta stop living in them. Them snakes got venom in them. The strike will kill you. That life you're living will leave you defenseless. Wake up, Israel, this might be your last chance. MJ last dance, you can't come back. Take advantage of the life you were blessed with. Get the Most High that attention that your flesh get. I know it feel good, but it's killing y'all. Use the Bible like a mirror, fix your spirit up. You just wanna do what you feel, yeah, yeah. Because you're living in the lust of your flesh. You're living in the lust of your flesh. So you just wanna do what you feel, yeah, yeah. Cause you're living in the lust of your flesh. You're living in the lust of your flesh. So you just wanna do what you feel.
Shalom, shalom, family. Give me about 45 seconds and we'll get started.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom, shalom.
Levi in the house.
Y'all already know. Y'all already know.
Oh, praise it. Man, how y'all been doing this afternoon going into the evening?
Man, blessed, man. Just trying to beat the heat.
Shoot you likewise, Ox.
But yeah, y'all. So today we're gonna be doing the Bible reading on Sirach 29 and what's chapter 29 through 32. And I just want to start off by saying, Call Allah Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and just thanking the Father for giving us another day to be able to go over His precepts and His word and be able to be led and guided by Him. So I'm gonna get started. Chapter 29, verse 1. It says, "He that is merciful will lend unto his neighbor, and he that strengtheneth his hand keepeth the commandments. Lend to thy neighbor in time of his need, and pay thou thy neighbor again in due season. Keep thy word and deal faithfully with him, and thou shalt always find the thing that is necessary for thee. Many, when a thing was lent them, reckoned it to be found, and put them to trouble that helped them. Till he have received, he will kiss a man's hand, and for his neighbor's money he will speak submissively. But when he should repay, he will prolong the time, and return words of grief, and complain of the time. If he prevail, he should hardly receive the half, and he will count as if he had found it. If not, he have deprived him of his money, and he have gotten him an enemy without cause. He payeth him with cursings and railings, and for honor he will pay him disgrace. Many therefore have refused to lend for other men's ill dealing, fearing to be defrauded. Yet have thou patience with a man in poor estate, and delay not to shew him mercy. Help the poor for the commandment's sake, and turn him not away because of his poverty. Lose thy money for thy brother and thy friend, and let it not rust under a stone to be lost. Lay up the treasure according to the commandments of the Most High, and it shall bring thee more profit than gold. Shut up alms in thy storehouses, and it shall deliver thee from all affliction. It shall fight for thee against thine enemies, better than a mighty shield and strong spear. An honest man is surety for his neighbor, but he that is impudent will forsake him. Forget not the friendship of thy surety, for he hath given his life for thee. A sinner will overthrow the good estate of his surety, and he that is of an unthankful mind will leave him in danger that delivered him. Suretyship have undone many of good estate, and shaken them as a wave of the sea. Mighty men have it driven from their houses, so that they wandered among strange nations. A wicked man, transgressing the commandments of the Lord, shall fall into suretyship, and he that undertaketh and followeth other men's business for gain shall fall into suits. Help thy neighbor according to thy power, and beware that thou thyself fall not into the same. The chief thing for life is water, and bread, and clothing, and a house to cover shame. Better is the life of a poor man in a mean cottage than delicate fare in another man's house. Be it little or much, hold thee contented, that thou hear not the reproach of thy house. For it is a miserable life to go from house to house, for where thou art a stranger, thou darest not open thy mouth. Thou shalt entertain and feast, and have no thanks. Moreover, thou shalt hear bitter words. Come, thou stranger, and furnish a table, and feed me of that thou hast ready. Give place, thou stranger, to an honorable man. My brother cometh to be lodged, and I have need of mine house. These things are grievous to a man of understanding, the upbraiding of house room and reproaching of the lender. I'm gonna start with highlighting the first 4 verses in this chapter. And it says, he that is merciful will lend unto his neighbor, and he that strengtheneth his hand keepeth the commandments. Lend to thy neighbor in time of his need, and pay thou thy neighbor again in due season. Keep thy word and deal faithfully with him, and thou shalt always find the thing that is necessary for thee. Many, when a thing was lent them, reckoned it to be found, and put them to trouble that helped them. So, if one of our people do come to us in the time of need and they want to borrow money, we shouldn't have any disputation. We shouldn't, want to fight to help someone that has a hand out in need. It says in verse 1 to just lend to the neighbor in time of need and pay thy neighbor again in due season. So I'm gonna get a scripture that shows exactly how we are to lend out to our people. And it's in Deuteronomy 23, verses 19 and 20. And it says, thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother, usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury. Unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all that thou settest thine hand to, in the land whither thou goest to possess it. So it shows that our fellow Israelites, if they want to borrow from us, we shouldn't be saying, yeah, you got to bring me interest back, brother. Nah, you give me back what I allowed you to borrow from me. That's it. You shouldn't want to grieve your brother in paying something back and give them more burden to pay back more than they actually borrowed, because they were already struggling in the beginning. That's why they had to borrow, because they didn't have it. They found themselves in a position where they needed it, and we should be able to be there for our brothers and sisters to help them out in the time of need. I'm gonna grab another precept in Psalm 37 and verse 21. And it says, the wicked borroweth and payeth not again, but the righteous sheweth mercy and giveth. And when we look at these first few verses, it talks about in the 3rd verse and the 4th verse, keep thy word and deal faithfully with him, and thou shalt always find a thing that is necessary for thee. Many, when a thing was lent them, reckoned it to be found, and put them to trouble that helped them. We already know, living in Babylon, as normal people in society, our brothers and sisters ain't got it like that to just be giving money away. So if you say you're going to borrow, you should be always ready to pay them back, and not, come up with excuses when it comes to giving our brothers and sisters money back that we actually, borrow from. So, the provision for usury, it also goes with, the being accountable for knowing the thoughts of our brothers and sisters. Like when they come to us for, borrowing money, it's because they were lacking. But also the borrower should also have in his mind, my brother and sister probably really ain't got it like that, but they allowing me to borrow it because they got just enough to lend me right now. But that's not to say later on they might not need what they borrowed from you. So I'm gonna grab another verse in Proverbs, and it's Proverbs 22:7. And it says, the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. I'm real cautious about taking loans out, getting crazy car notes, because when you think about those things, when you make a certain amount of finances each month, and you got people already in your pocket before you make your first dollar, you start to become a slave to them. You become a slave to bills. You become slaves to loans. So we got to use wisdom when we out here maneuvering in Babylon, so that we're not putting ourselves in a hole by the choices we make. And we allow ourselves to become a slave to certain things we've signed contracts on and agreed to pay. I have a vehicle I pay car notes on. And I was thinking about, hey, after a year, I was going to upgrade and get me some, a newer year. And as time been going on, it's been almost a year paying that car note. I said, man, nah, I'm going to pay this doggone truck off. I ain't finna get nothing newer, because I'm not finna continue to put myself in bondage to have to pay something back every month when I can just be happy with what the Most High has allowed me to have. And that's wisdom we have to use. We can't be in Babylon just chasing after things to fulfill the lust of wanting to look like and be like and have like people of the world. I'm gonna highlight these next few verses in 5 through 8. It says, till he have received, he will kiss a man's hand, and for his neighbor's money he will speak submissively. But when he should repay, he will prolong the time and return words of grief and complain of the time. Y'all ever dealt with somebody like that? When they needed to borrow some money from you, they said all the right things. And they was gonna have, I promise I'm gonna have your money, brother. Man, I just need this little bit of money I got these things I gotta handle, man. I got you. Then when you bring up the money, oh man, I forgot I owed you that money. They ain't forget. Nobody forget when they gotta pay another man some money. You never forget that. I done borrowed money from people before, years and years ago, growing up. And I never forgot that I owed them people money. I knew I owed them folk money. But if I was in my situation where I was trying to get out of my hole I was in, I probably had that money in my hand 5 times. It was in my pocket 5 times before I actually went and paid this person back, because I really didn't have it to pay it back at that time. So, this is something that we deal with our people. We see these things. Verse 6 says, if he prevail, he shall hardly receive a half, and he will count as if he had found it. If not, he have deprived him of his money, and he have gotten him an enemy without cause. He payeth him with cursings and railing, and for honor he will pay him disgrace. Get the little funky $50. Y'all done heard people do that before. Get the little funky money. It wasn't funky when you borrowed it though. So it say, many therefore have refused to lend for other men's ill dealing, fearing to be defrauded. You don't never want to let nobody borrow that no more. The person that do you like that, you definitely not gonna let him borrow no more, because he already burnt this bridge. I let you borrow $100. You took 3 months to pay me back. You think I'm finna let you borrow $100 again? But it says, verse 8, yet have thou patience with a man in poor estate, and delay not to shew him mercy. Sometimes we may have to lend to that person again. But this time when you lend that second time, you lend with the expectation that this brother, this sister may not, they may not just have it at the time, and you might have to wait a little while. Because that's just understanding our people and understanding having patience with our people and being able to love our people in the correct way, because that's love. We know we talked about in the last lesson about, sacrifice, that we have to give of ourselves to our friends. Just like the Most High gave us Yahushua, and Yahushua gave himself for us. So we also got to extend ourselves to our brothers and sisters. I'm going to get a precept in Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 12. And it says, for wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. But the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it. So we know that, money can be a defense. Wisdom can also be a defense. So we want to be always use this wisdom that we've been given to continue to use wisdom in our finances, no matter what we do. I'm going to read verse 12 in Sirach 29. It says, shut up arms in thy storehouses, and it shall deliver thee from all affliction. And that's that wisdom, because we know that money can be a defense for us. We want to try our best to hold on to money when we get it and not just splurge it. Because at the time when we don't have it, it won't be a defense, and we will be afflicted. But yeah, I think that's all I got in that chapter. If any brothers got any precepts, y'all can bring them out.
Oh, you got it here.
I appreciate it, and shalom to the panel too.
Shalom.
I just wanted to you mentioned something about on brothers and sisters money, and and just taking into account, not just the person that's lending, but also you being the person that's borrowing, right? And I want to read this in Romans 13:8. It says, owe no man anything but to love one another, for he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. So you're actually moving and showing love, when you borrow from somebody and you make it your business to pay them back, and not giving them the runaround, and like how the brother was going into I think in verses 3-5, where you'll kiss the hand to get the money from the person, and then you playing games after you've gotten the money, and now it's time to pay up. You won't be moving like that if you're showing love to your people. You're gonna make sure you pay them that money back. But I just wanted to make that point.
Con. Yeah, Brother Devon, you had something to bring out? You on mute if you're speaking, bro. Nope. Okay. I'm gonna continue the next chapter. This is Sirach 30, verse 1. He that loveth his son causes him oft to feel the rod, that he may have joy of him in the end. He that chastiseth his son shall have joy in him, and shall rejoice of him among his acquaintance. He that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy, and before his friends he shall rejoice of him. Though his father die, yet he as though he were not dead, for he have left one behind him that is like himself. While he lived, he saw and rejoiced in him, and when he died, he was not sorrowful. He left behind him an avenger against his enemies, and one that shall requite kindness to his friends. He that maketh too much of his son shall bind up his wounds, and his bowels will be troubled at every cry. A horse not broken becometh headstrong, and a child left to himself will be willful. Cocker thy child, and he shall make thee afraid. Play with him, and he will bring thee to heaviness. Laugh not with him, lest thou have sorrow with him, and lest thou gnash thy teeth in the end. Give him no liberty in his youth, and wink not at his follies. Bow down his neck while he is young, and beat him on the sides while he is a child, lest he wax stubborn and be disobedient unto thee, and so bring sorrow to thine heart. Chastise thy son and hold him to labor, lest his lewd behavior be an offense unto thee. Better is the poor, being sound and strong of constitution, than a rich man that is afflicted in his body. Health and good estate of body are above all gold, and a strong body above infinite wealth. There is no riches above a sound body, and no joy above the joy of the heart. Death is better than a bitter life or continual sickness. Delicates poured upon a mouth shut up are as messes of meat set upon a grave. What good doeth the offering unto an idol? For neither can it eat nor smell. So is he that is persecuted of the Lord. He seeth with his eyes and groaneth, as a eunuch that embraceth a virgin and slighteth. Give not over thy mind to heaviness, and afflict not thyself in thine own counsel. The gladness of the heart is the life of man, and the joyfulness of a man prolongeth his days. Love thine own soul, and comfort thy heart. Remove sorrow far from thee, for sorrow hath killed many, and there is no profit therein. Envy and wrath shorten the life, and carefulness bringeth age before the time. A cheerful and good heart will have a care of his meat and diet. And the verses I'm gonna highlight are gonna be verses 1 through 12.
Hey,
And it,
Shalak, for some
go
reason I
ahead.
dropped out of stream or something, but I just wanted to add to the last chapter, whatever you was talking about, how sometimes you will give alms or you'll give money or something to somebody. You have to
Mhm.
do it with the right intentions. Because sometimes they may not be able to pay you back. And
Right.
so let's go to Tobit chapter 4 and read verse 7 through 11.
Tobit 4, 7 through 11. All right, this is Tobit chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. Give alms of thy substance, and when thou givest alms, let not thine eye be envious. Neither turn thy face from any poor, and the face of God shall not be turned away from thee. If thou hast abundance, give alms accordingly. If thou have but a little, be not afraid to give according to that little. For thou layest up a good treasure for thyself against the day of necessity. Because that alms do deliver from death, and suffereth not to come into darkness. For alms is a good gift unto all that give it in the sight of the Most High.
Because it's even circumstances where somebody can hit you up. They'll be like, "Hey, I need $100 for this, this, and that," and you can only give them 10. So you should give them what you are able to give them. Don't break yourself trying to help them, because you'll end up being the one that's poor next. And so, but
Right.
and so if you got a little, you can only give a little. If you have a lot, you should give a lot. But you got to be, whenever you give it to them, you got to make sure that you have the right intentions of why you're doing it. But I just want to add to that.
All right, the water, all praises. So I'm gonna get these verses. I'm gonna read these verses in chapter 30. We're gonna just get verses 1 through 12. It says, "He that loveth his son causes him off to feel the rod, that he may have joy of him in the end." They had that saying, "You spare the rod, spoil the child." I think I got that precept that I'm pull out, but it's a very common saying, and it's so true because when you look at these kids, I know like y'all have seen videos, or you probably seen it in real life in real time. The little kids in the store, the grocery store, they go to hollering, and we know who them children they live doing all that hollering, that won't listen and sit up there just hollering, and they can't get them to stop hollering in the store. They ain't whooping their butt when they sitting up there hollering. So they doing what they have learned to do and what they're comfortable with doing because they see no discipline coming behind it. They see nothing, no results, no consequences to their actions. So it says, "He that chastiseth his son shall have joy in him, and shall rejoice of him among his acquaintance. He that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy, and before his friends he shall rejoice of him. Though his father die, yet he is as though he were not dead. For he have left one behind him that is like himself. While he lived, he saw and rejoiced in him. And when he died, he was not sorrowful. He left behind him an avenger against his enemies, and one that shall requite kindness to his friends. He that maketh too much of his son shall bind up his wounds, and his bowels will be troubled at every cry. A horse not broken becometh headstrong, and a child left to himself will be willful. Cocker thy child, and he shall make thee afraid. Play with him, and he will bring thee to heaviness. Laugh not with him, lest thou have sorrow with him, and lest thou gnash thy teeth in the end. Give him no liberty in his youth, and wink not at his follies. Too many people, when they parent, they want to be the child's friend instead of be the child's parent, so that they can be disciplined and they can learn the right way of doing things. If a parent tries to tell the child the right thing to do, and the child is grieved by it, they frown up, or they make those little noises to themselves, some need to come behind that. Because if not, what's being taught is it's okay for them to act that way, because you're giving them some good advice, some good sound advice to help them in life. And what's going to happen is later on down the line, once they get to experience the real world, they're going to get a wake-up call that they didn't get at home. That wake-up call can end up being them dead, because they didn't know that life was the way that life is. I'm going to grab a precept in Proverbs 13 and 24. And it says, he that spareth his rod hateth his son, but he that loveth him chasteneth him betimes. So we know, like, even when we love our people, we reprove them, we rebuke them. I know I'm good for it. If you doing something off, I mean, I got to tell you, if I love you, if I don't say nothing to you, I must don't care about you. It's the same thing with our children. If we claim to love our children, we got to correct their path. We got to correct the way that they do things, so that they can actually grow up and already know better before they end up in situations where they got to make decisions where they could possibly make the wrong decision if they haven't been input with the right wisdom. I'm gonna grab another precept, and I'm gonna read this verse 3 again. It said, he that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy, and before his friends he shall rejoice of him. So we know who our enemy is. I'm gonna grab this verse in 1 John. So this is 1 John 3, verses 7 through 10. And it says, little children, let no man deceive you. He that doeth righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous. He that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinneth from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. Whosoever is born of God does not commit sin, for his seed remaineth in him, and he cannot sin, because he is born of God. In this the children of God are manifest, and the children of the devil. Whosoever doeth not righteousness is not of God, neither he that loveth not his brother. So this is how we teach our children to grieve the enemy, because we know that the enemy is the devil. And the devil want our kids, y'all. He starts to take his focus off of us, especially when we start to get strong in his faith. He don't try to test us and try us as much as he used to. He started to focus on our kids because they're more impressionable. So the younger that they are, the more impressionable they are. So it's more important, the smaller they are, that we put the right things into their mind to make their path righteous, and so they can't easily be deceived by the enemy, which is the devil. And the devil's gonna use plenty of people out here in society to get to him, so they got to beware of that and already know and be prepared for those things. I'm gonna grab another one more precept, and it's gonna be Proverbs 29 verses 15 through 17. And it reads, the king, Salakia, the rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself bringeth his mother to shame. When the wicked are multiplied, transgression increaseth, but the righteous shall see their fall. Correct thy son, and he shall give thee rest. Yea, he shall give delight unto thy soul. So, it says a child left to himself bringeth his mother to shame. When you analyze what they're saying, leaving a child to actually just fend for itself, to think for itself, learn for itself. One thing about me, I feel like the greatest mother in the world and the greatest father. But there was something that my father couldn't teach me because my father didn't go through it. And it was about the streets. I wasn't really warned about the streets. Like my mama would say certain things, but she was a woman. My daddy didn't teach me anything about the streets. He didn't really, my mama used to warn me about other boys, when I go to school and stuff like that, like not hanging with certain people. But it wasn't enough. And so I started to run into stuff at an early age. My mom and dad separated at 16. And I had to move in with my aunt and my cousins. And then eventually I moved out of there at the age of 16. I wasn't that long. And I was on my own in the streets and living with my partners who daddy was in prison and mama was living in Chicago. So we was in Mobile, Alabama in the projects, Roger Williams, by ourselves. And I was like deep in the streets. And a lot of the stuff that I ran into was because I wasn't warned, or I wasn't aware that these things were out there. So I ran into them and had to bump my head for some years. And that's the type of stuff we got to be able to prevent our children from going through. Because if we don't warn them, they won't know when they see it. They won't know what it is. They're going to just try to experience it. So the things that we have went through, we got to share those memories and those observations that we have been able to come in contact with to be able to share that information with our children. But any brothers got any points, y'all can bring them out.
Yeah, you didn't get the Proverbs 22, did you?
Which one?
Proverbs 22.
No, I ain't get it out. Well, yes, I did. I got 22 and 7, but I didn't get the whole proverb.
Yeah, Proverbs 22 and verse 6.
Time. 22 and 6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it.
That's important, because what you instill in your children at a young age, as they get older, it's going to be a part of them. It's going to become a part of their character. And so it's important that if you walk in the ways of the Most High, for you to teach it to your children. So at least they'll have it in their mind. Whenever they come into a certain situation, when they get older, they'll remember those certain things. Like the brother heard, he brought out something fantastic, that his father didn't teach him certain aspects when it comes to the streets. And so he had to go out there and learn himself, which it took a lot of mistakes. It took a lot of bad decisions in order to get to where he was at. And so, with us having children now, we shouldn't want to allow them to go through the same thing that we went through. We should be training them up so once they get older, they know those things that we should have knew when we were children.
Gone. Anybody else got anything? And any brothers and sisters in the chat, if y'all got any questions or anything you want to type, you can. But if not, we'll continue to move on.
Yeah, Con, I wanted to say this too. So anybody in the chat, if it's a Bible verse that you want to add on to it, we'll read it out loud. So feel free to, if it's something that you think about while we read in this portion, or while somebody's breaking something down, you can just post it in the chat and we'll read it.
Con. And the water up. All right, we'll continue in chapter 31. Watching for riches consumeth the flesh, and the care thereof driveth away sleep. Watching care will not let a man slumber, as a sore disease breaketh sleep. The rich have great labor in gathering riches together, and when he resteth, he is filled with his delicates. The poor laboreth in his poor state, and when he leaveth off, he is still needy. He that loveth gold shall not be justified, and he that followeth corruption shall have enough thereof. Gold hath been the ruin of many, and their destruction was present. It is a stumbling block unto them that sacrifice unto it, and every fool shall be taken therewith. Blessed is the rich that is found without blemish, and have not gone after gold. Who is he? And we will call him blessed, for wonderful things have he done among his people. Who have been tried thereby, and found perfect, then let him glory. Who might offend, and have not offended, or done evil, and have not done it. His good shall be established, and the congregation shall declare his alms. If thou sit at a bountiful table, be not greedy upon it, and say not, there is much meat on it. Remember that a wicked eye is an evil thing, and what is created more wicked than an eye? Therefore it weepeth upon every occasion. Stretch not thine hand whithersoever it looketh, and thrust it not with him into the dish. Judge not thy neighbor by thyself, and be discreet in every point. Eat as it becometh a man those things which are set before thee, and devour not, lest thou be hated. Leave off first for manner's sake, and be not unsatiable, lest thou offend. When thou sittest among many, reach not thine hand out first of all. A very little is sufficient for a man well nurtured, and he fetcheth not his wind short upon his bed. Sound sleep cometh of moderate eating. He riseth early, and his wits are with him. But the pain of watching, and choler, and pangs of the belly are with an unsatiable man. And if thou hast been forced to eat, arise, go forth, vomit, and thou shalt have rest. My son, hear me, and despise me not, and at the last thou shalt find as I told thee. In all thy works be quick, so shall there no sickness come unto thee. Whoso is liberal of his meat, men shall speak well of him, and the report of his good housekeeping will be believed. But against him that is a niggard of his meat, the whole city shall murmur, and the testimonies of his niggardness shall not be doubted of. Shew not thy valiantness in wine, for wine hath destroyed many. The furnace proveth the edge by dipping, Salaki. So doth wine the hearts of the proud by drunkenness. Wine is as good as life to a man, if it be drunk moderately. What life is then to a man that is without wine? For it was made to make men glad. Wine measurably drunk and in season bringeth gladness of the heart and cheerfulness of the mind. But wine drunken with excess maketh bitterness of the mind, with brawling and quarreling. Drunkenness increaseth the rage of a fool till he offend. It diminisheth strength and maketh wounds. Rebuke not thy neighbor at the wine, and despise him not in his mirth. Give him no despiteful words, and press not upon him with urging him to drink. I'll highlight the verses 6 through 11. And it says, they say, God have been the ruin of many. Gold, Salakia, have been the ruin of many, and their destruction was present. It is a stumbling block unto them that sacrifice unto it, and every fool shall be taken therewith. Blessed is the rich that is found without blemish, and have not gone after gold. Who is he? And we will call him blessed, for wonderful things have he done among his people. Who have been tried thereby and found perfect, then let him glory. Who might offend, and have not offended, or done evil, and have not done it. His good shall be established, and the congregation shall declare his alms. So I'm gonna grab a precept in 1 Timothy 6 and 10. And it reads, "For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows." So, we definitely, we just got through bringing the precept out about money being a defense. So we know that, we need money, but it's a difference in having a love of money and just needing money and want to have money to survive. It says, while some coveted after it, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. Because we don't have abundance of money, if we don't have abundance of money and we start to covet after abundance of money, it can cause you to go do some things that's going to make your situation worse than what it was. Because at first it was just finances that you was bothered by, that plagued you. And when you go to coveting after this money and doing some stuff you ain't got no business, now you got more than money problems. If you end up getting caught doing the thing you ain't have no business doing, or you end up dead with a bullet in your brain, touching somebody's stuff that don't belong to you. So this coveting after money is a very detrimental thing because it takes over your brain. It's just like the same way when you think about how we keep these commandments and we engage ourselves in being led by the Spirit to do so. When money starts to replace God, it takes over your brain the same way. It takes over your spirit the same way. So now whatever you do, it's all about money. So no matter what it is, you don't care. I just want the money. I got to get the money. And that's how we go to thinking. So I'm going to grab another precept in Jeremiah 17, verses 7 and 8. And before I read that, I'm going to go back to Sirach 31 and read this verse. It said, it is a stumbling block, this verse 7, unto them that sacrifice unto it. This is how money has become someone's God. It becomes a stumbling block to them that sacrifice unto it. And every fool shall be taken therewith. But verse 8 said, blessed is the rich that is found without blemish and have not gone after gold. The Most High will bless us with money. He will bless us with money when we start to obey him and want to keep his commandments. So it ain't nothing wrong with having an abundance of money. It can be beautiful when you obtain it in the correct way. But it's that ill-gotten gains. When we going out to do something that we ain't got no business doing to make that money. We gonna reap what we sow. But when we keep these commandments, the Most High add finances to us. He add all type of things to us to bless us and make us better and make us live a little more comfortable. So this scripture in Jeremiah 17, verse 7 and 8, it says, blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord and whose hope the Lord is. For he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, and that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit. In order for this stuff to happen for this tree ain't got to do nothing. That tree just got to stay right there planted by the water. The Most High makes sure this tree get everything it needs, all the nutrients, everything, the sunlight, everything it needs to continue to grow, to thrive, to stay alive. It's the same thing with us. He ain't gonna leave us and forsake us when we doing what the Most High want us to do. I'm gonna grab another precept in Deuteronomy 28. Because I think people don't really think about how we go to Deuteronomy 28, we bring out the curses, we bring out the blessings, but these things apply in real time. When we start keeping these commandments, you're gonna see that reflection on your life. The Most High gonna do stuff for you out the blue. You're gonna see the provision He make for you, and it may be small in comparison to worldly people, but it's taking care of you. It may not just be the biggest thing, it may not be the most money, but He's taking care of you. He's making sure that you don't go without. So this is Deuteronomy 28 and verses 8 through 13. And it reads, "The Lord shall command the blessing upon thee in thy storehouses, and in all that thou settest thine hand unto. And He shall bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. The Lord shall establish thee a holy people unto Himself, as He hath sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God, and walk in His ways. And all people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of the Lord, and they shall be afraid of thee. And Yahweh shall make thee plenteous in goods, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy ground, in the land which the Lord sware unto thy fathers to give thee." So we see, that these provisions are being made for us because we're being obedient. And I'm going to continue with the next two verses. It says, "The Lord shall open unto thee His good treasure, the heaven, to give the rain unto thy land in his season, and to bless all the work of thine hand. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. And the Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail, and thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath, if that thou hearken unto the commandments of the Lord thy God, which I command thee this day to observe and to do them." And so we know when we continue to keep these commandments, eventually our salvation gonna come. Eventually our deliverance gonna come. We ain't gonna have to do all this stuff we do. We ain't gonna have to go to no 9 to 5 and work for somebody. The Most High gonna prosper us in all ways, completely in our life. I'm gonna grab another precept. I'm gonna read verse 31 and 12. It says, "If thou sit at a bountiful table, be not greedy upon it, and say not, there is much meat on it." And I'm gonna grab a precept for that, Sirach 31 and 12. And the precept is gonna be Philippians 4, 11 through 13. And this is very important scripture. It says, "Not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. I know both how to be abased, and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ, which strengthen me." So we know that, there are going to be times where you might not have what you would like to have, but you got to learn to be content with that and be happy that the Most High is sustaining you enough that you ain't homeless, you ain't foodless, you got everything you need. And that's how the Most High continues to bless us each and every day of our life when we are obedient to Him and keeping these commandments. I'm gonna leave it open for any brothers that want to bring anything out. If not, I continue to the next chapter, and I can read these scriptures the brothers placed in the chat. And I'll start with this one that the brother Aaron put in the chat. Matthew 6 and 24 in the NLT. "No one can serve two masters, for you will hate one and love the other. You will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. And that's real. Like, it's one or the other. We got to pick a side. Matthew 6:33 says, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. And in the NLT, seek the kingdom of God above all else and live righteously, and he will give you everything you need. Con, all praises. Hebrews 13:5. Let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as ye have. For he hath said, I will never leave thee, nor forsake thee. Matthew 4:4. But he answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of God. Con, all praise the Water Brothers for the precepts. And I'll continue on in the next chapter unless somebody want to add anything. All right, on to chapter 32. It says, if thou be made the master of a feast, lift not thyself up, but be among them as one of the rest. Take diligent care for them, and so sit down. And when thou hast done all thy office, take thy place, that thou mayest be merry with them, and receive a crown for thy well ordering of the feast. Speak thou that art the elder, for it becometh thee, but with sound judgment, and hinder not music. Pour not out words where there is a musician, and shew not forth wisdom out of time. A concert of music in a banquet of wine is as a signet of carbuncle set in gold. As a signet of an emerald set in a work of gold, so is the melody of music with pleasant wine. Speak, young man, if there be need of thee, and yet scarcely when thou art twice asked. Let thy speech be short, comprehending much in few words. Be as one that knoweth, and yet holdeth his tongue. If thou be among great men, make not thyself equal with them. And when ancient men are in place, use not many words. Before the thunder goeth lightning, and before a shamefaced man shall go favor. Rise up betimes, and be not the last, but get thee home without delay. There take thy pastime, and do what thou wilt, but sin not by proud speech. And for these things bless him that made thee, and have replenished thee with his good things. Whoso feareth the Lord will receive his discipline, and they that seek him early shall find favor. He that seeketh the law shall be filled therewith, but the hypocrite will be offended therein. They that fear the Lord shall find judgment, and shall kindle justice as a light. A sinful man will not be reproved, but findeth an excuse according to his will. A man of counsel will be considerate, but a strange and proud man is not daunted with fear, even when of himself he have done without counsel. Do nothing without advice, and when thou hast once done, repent not. Go not in a way wherein thou mayest fall, and stumble not among the stones. Be not confident in a plain way, and beware of thine own children. In every good work trust thy own soul, for this is the keeping of the commandments. He that believeth in the Lord taketh heed to the commandment, and he that trusteth in him shall fare never the worse. I'm gonna read verse 20 again, and it says, no, Salakia. I'm gonna read verse 9 and 10. No, that's right. Verse 20. Go not in a way therein wherein thou mayest fall, and stumble not among the stones. And I'm gonna bring out a precept for that. 1 Corinthians 10, verses 12 and 13. And it reads, wherefore let him that thinketh he standeth take heed lest he fall. There have no temptation taken you, but such as common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it. Now we know that the Most High, He gonna make provision for us to actually get out of situations that can cause us to stumble. He always make a way out for us, so that we can not transgress the commandments. But we got to pay attention to what verse 12 says. It says, wherefore let him that thinketh he standeth take heed lest he fall. We can't deceive ourselves into believing that we so strong and we so righteous that we can't end up in a situation where we can fall. That we can't end up in a situation where we may transgress the Most High's commandments. We got to beware of that. So, like the scripture says in 32 and 20 of Sirach, it says, go not in a way wherein thou mayest fall, and stumble not among the stones. Don't put yourself in situations where something could possibly go the wrong way, not according to the Most High's will for your life. We have to be aware of those things. I'm going to bring out a precept in Jeremiah 17. And it's Jeremiah 17, verses 9 and 10. And it reads, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? I, Yahweh, search the heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doings. So we can't deceive ourselves, because the heart is deceitful. We can sit there and say, I'm strong enough to get through this temptation that I may face when I do this or when I go here. But the Most High Yahweh say in verse 10 that he searched the heart and he tries the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doing. He gonna try you. He will put you in a situation where you're gonna be forced to show that your heart is right toward the Most High. We just did a lesson about how to recognize when your faith is being tested. And your faith will be tested. But we got to be smart enough not to put ourselves in situations when we can, we can evade test. We don't want to just put ourselves in situations where it's like, oh man, I gotta get out of this. I gotta find a way out of this where I don't transgress, or I don't end up in a situation that can get me messed up, that I have bad results from. Now I'm gonna read one more precept, and I'll let the brothers grab any precepts or points that they have. And it's 1 Corinthians 15 and 33, and I'm gonna read it in the Amplified version. It says, do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good morals. We can't be around heathens. I'm talking about heathens of our own people too, and think that it's not gonna rub off on us. Yeah, it's fine to, chill with your family sometimes and, make the most of the time with them because we love our people. But we have to beware of how much time we're spending and what's going on and the conversations being had, because that stuff gonna eventually wear on you. It's gonna eventually rub off on you if the Most High ain't rubbing off on them from you. If your light ain't shining on them and they staying dark, you better be careful, because that darkness will start to creep in on your light. But I think that's all I got. If any brothers got any precepts, y'all can bring some forward.
All praises, man. I had a quick point on verse 9 in Sirach 32. I could read it. It says, if thou be among great men, make not thyself equal with them. And when ancient men are in place, use not many words. And I think this is a wisdom that really anybody can apply, but I believe specifically, younger brothers especially, within his truth. And and really anywhere you can use this particular wisdom anywhere. When someone of a great stature, and I'm talking about within society or things of those sort, when they come around, or someone of great honor, quote unquote, comes around, it's best for you not to make yourself higher than what you actually are, so that you aren't you know brought down low, frankly, because a lot of times what tends to happen is you look at yourself in a particular way, that you're higher than what you actually are, and you end up getting humbled and embarrassed, right? And just to read this real quick, this precept, this is the book of Luke chapter 14, and I'm gonna start at 14 and 7. It says, and he put forth a parable to those which were bidden, when he marked how they chose out of the chief rooms, saying unto them, when thou art bidden of any man to a wedding, sit not down in the highest room, lest a more honorable man than thou be bidden of him. And he that bade thee and him come and say to thee, give this man place, and thou begin with shame to take the lower room, or lowest room, Salakia. Right. So that's going into the same thing. Like, you make yourself higher than what you actually are, and then you go and get humbled, and they say, hey, like, go move somewhere else. You don't belong here. But let me read verse 10. It says, but when thou art bidden, go and sit down in the lowest room, that when he that bade thee cometh, he may say unto thee, friend, go up higher. Then shalt thou have worship in the presence of them that sit at meat with thee. For whosoever exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. Right? So I believe that, in Sirach 32 and 9 is teaching that wisdom, to just continue to be humble, and not make yourself, high like the others. But I'm out yield on that.
Khan, the water, beautiful point. You got some, brother? Go ahead.
I was saying, Con.
Khan. Yeah, if any other brothers got anything, you can go ahead and bring it out. And if anybody got anything in the chat, you could, if it's a Bible verse or anything else y'all want to add, you can just type it in the comment box. But if not, brother, you can close it out.
Con. Yeah, and that definitely beautiful edification. The water to the brother hurt for the reading. All praise to the Most High. And we'll close it out with number 6. And we'll start at 22. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto Aaron and his sons, saying, on this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, Yahweh bless thee and keep thee. Yahweh make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Yahweh lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. And with that, I'll say shalom.
Shalom, family.
Shalom, family.